Okay, I think we are ready to go. So I am so excited to be with you guys tonight. I am so excited. Welcome to week 5. And we are talking on our community coaching call tonight about the art of ingredient prep and simply eating well, or eating well simply, whichever way you want to look at that. We're going to talk about that tonight. So have you ever dreamed of being able to walk into the kitchen, look in the fridge, and go, I've got this and this and this, and I'm going to put together and make something that tastes amazing? And if that has been you, or you're not sure how to do that, you are in the right place. I've done some sort of meal prep or menu planning for at least 15 years. And when I first started, I spent a lot of time finding recipes and printing them out and planning to use them, at least until I got bored with them or my family spoke up and said, we really don't like this. And at that time, I would meal prep a big pot of something and I would eat it. I would eat it for lunches throughout the week, or we might have it here and there for dinners. I might freeze some of it. And that would work until I got bored with it halfway through the week, or I had a different mood for food halfway through the week. And then I would have to figure out what I was going to do. Sometimes I would plow through those meals because I had prepared them and I had spent money on them. And other times I got so bored with them that it led to me ordering pizza or us having hot dogs for dinner or breakfast for dinner, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but usually it was cereal, which really didn't align with my goals either. So, um, so I knew that there had to be a better way, and enter ingredient prepping, something that I could do faster. I'm not tied to a recipe or a flavor for an entire week. Anybody in my house can eat the foods that I have prepped, the way that they would like to eat them, when they would like to eat them. And I just replenish them as I see that they're getting low. Plus, I think it's more fun to enjoy the same ingredients with different flavors based on my mood than being stuck to one big pot of soup or something for the week for my lunches. So, and I know that I've shared with you guys in the past that I pretty much eat the same couple of lunches, but if my mood changes, I can change that. If my mood changes and I haven't done the ingredient prep, it's a lot harder for me to do that if I've just prepped one big thing to eat. So that was how I started doing ingredient prep. I do find it to be easier, and it doesn't use every pot or dish in my house at once. And it becomes one of my favorite hacks. It's become one of my favorite hacks to save time in the kitchen during the week. So focusing on ingredient prep doesn't mean that I put zero thought into the meals that we're going to eat during the week. On the weekend, I usually sit down and I jot down what I plan to have for meals. And then I prep a few ingredients. I shop and I prep a few ingredients so that they're ready to go. And sometimes I choose to use the conveniences of the grocery store as far as the prepping of the vegetables and or using frozen vegetables, some of those things, so that if I know that my week is going to be particularly crazy or my weekend is particularly crazy and I don't have the time to do all of the prep. So there's options out there, and that's one of the things that I love about meal prep, or correction, about ingredient prepping. So today is all about showing you how some simple ingredient prep and how it translates to meals throughout the week. This isn't exactly going to be like meal prepping, although you're going to see me prep some meals. Meal prepping is more that you cook entire main dishes and sides that you're going to serve over the next few days, where ingredient prepping is about prepping the components, like chopping vegetables, prepping proteins, cooking grains, and sometimes cooking them simply, like roasting a butternut squash if you plan on making soup later on in the week, or putting together the crock pot chicken, which we're going to do tonight, so that you have chicken ready and on hand for salads or other dishes that you're going to make for dinners throughout the week. So that's more what ingredient prep is about. So I've got some tips for you, some of the best types of produce to prep, and some of my favorite containers to use for storage. We're also going to look at some of the meals that can be put together quickly. Like I said, we're going to do a little bit of prep, so we're going to be moving around my kitchen a little bit. I'm hoping technology works with me, because otherwise this will be a disaster, but we'll figure it out as we go along. So, but let's get into ingredient prep a little bit more. So why do we prep ingredients ahead of time? First of all, There's nothing like opening the refrigerator and seeing loads of possibilities in the refrigerator. So there's something about having broccoli already chopped and roasted, or lentils ready, cooked and ready, already seasoned, to make it easier for you to imagine what you can make, or to actually make the things that you've imagined because it's mostly done already for you. So being able to grab a tub of this and a jar of that, and knowing that you're going to be able to eat something truly amazing and healthy without too much brain power can be very freeing, especially when it's that, or you're heading to the drive-through and I can actually come home and put a meal on the table faster than I can drive to the drive-through, pick it up and bring it home. So that is the freedom of ingredient prep that it has given me to be able to do that. So with that said, apart from the creative and inspirational side of things with ingredient prep, there are plenty of practical and concrete reasons why ingredient prep really does save time and make things easier. The most simple answer I've already given you is it's easier. It's easier than full-scale meal prepping. If the thought of completely preparing multiple meals in a day exhausts you, or you can meal plan the meals, you plan them out, but you're not, then you have to come home after working all day and come up with the mental bandwidth to prepare a meal for the family. If that none of that gives you like, yes, that's what I want to do, then this is for you. If you are busy enough that when you've had a day where you just don't have the mental bandwidth and you're going to go out and get something from some takeout or something like that, this can save you most of the time and still align with your goals. And we've talked about ways that you can still eat out and align with your goals also, but this is a savior for being able to really know that you're in that 80-20 rule of hitting your goals and hitting what you're looking to do. So it makes dinner time quicker and easier. Like I said, I can come home and I can put a meal on the table within 15-20 minutes tops. Sometimes it's more like 5 or 10, and we can have a meal on the table ready to eat. Prepping ingredients in advance makes it so much quicker to get that meal done. And we're talking about batch chopping vegetables, which is so much more efficient than the cumulative time that it takes to chop them for every meal. If you chop up a whole bunch of peppers and a whole bunch of onions and carrots at the beginning of the week, and you have that to use throughout the week, it's going to be so much faster in that one time than it is if you are pulling out the cutting board and the knife and everything each time that you want to cut up carrots. So you'll make healthier choices as well, because like I said, pulling out the cutting board and and chopping a bunch of stuff can be a big hurdle when it comes to eating healthy. If you're thinking, I got to get the cutting board out, and then I got to cut up the cucumbers, and I got to cut up the tomatoes, and that's all going to take time, instead of just opening the refrigerator and there's a container of carrots or cucumbers or whatever to be able to take out and snack on, that's going to make it so much easier for you to make healthier choices. If everything is prepped ahead of time, that hurdle disappears for you. So especially when you're trying to make something quick for lunch and get out the door to a meeting or something like that. Most of the time, ingredient prepping reduces food waste, because if it's prepped, it's more likely to get used. When we bought our new refrigerator, I cracked up laughing because the lady that sold the refrigerator to us actually talked about the refrigerator drawer as the vegetable drawer in the refrigerator as the rotter, because she said, I buy vegetables and I put it in there and it just rots because nobody takes the time to prep it. I remember one of my friends also telling me that everybody in her house loved mangoes, but nobody wanted to nobody wanted to cut up the mango and take the time to do that. So mangoes would just rot in her house. So this way you have it done and it's ready to go. You take the time to do it once and it's ready to go for the entire week. Sometimes the food will last even longer than that as well. But you have the food prepped. Chopped vegetables, remember though, do spoil more quickly than whole vegetables. So don't get over ambitious in your prep. Been there, done that. Usually I cut up, I peel a couple of carrots and cut them into carrot slices for us. And then when that's done, I replenish it, kind of a thing. Same thing with chicken and those kinds of things. I do some, and when it's getting low, that's when I replenish it. So you got to think smart too, that you don't make so much that you have too much for your family to be able to take on at one time. Plus, cooking in bulk doesn't take any more time, so it's a time saver. Again, we talked about that. You can make a big pot of quinoa or brown rice and then freeze the extra so that you have it for, who is instructor for? So that you have it for your time throughout the week to be able to pull it out for meals that you're going to be having. You could also, do things like fruits and vegetables and greens that are on their way out. You can freeze those so that you have green smoothie packs to be able to use later on in the week as well. So you're not only wasting less fresh produce, but it's good for your conscience, but it's also good for your wallet. So you want to make sure that you take the time, you're using that time and those ingredients to the best that you can do that. And it also builds confidence that you can throw a meal together. It makes you feel like you're on top of things, and you can look at your refrigerator and you go, I have all this stuff in the refrigerator and I know what to do with it and I'm ready to put it together. And it builds a lot of confidence for you as you're making your meals. Keeps things flexible as well, because unlike making a whole meal in advance, prepping ingredients doesn't lock you in. So if you were planning on having a burrito bowl for dinner and you come home and you go, I'm really feeling like Chinese tonight, it's so easy to just say, okay, I'm just going to order Chinese. But if you can change the flavor of everything and you have it on hand, it's pretty easy to switch a burrito bowl to some sort of a Chinese vegetable stir fry kind of a thing. So that's another way that it does keep you flexible. Another thing would be like you could have roast sweet potatoes that could be a soup on a cold, rainy day, or if the weather's nicer and you have the sweet potatoes, you could make sweet potato salad or a stuffed sweet potato as well. So how do you master this art of ingredient prepping? My first and biggest advice for you is to start small. You are probably all excited and tingling about the fact that we're going to learn how to do this tonight. And but the worst thing that you can do is buy a whole fridge full of fresh produce and then get overwhelmed and forget about them. So the real power of the art of ingredient prep is turning it into a habit that becomes practically effortless. And I know that I've talked to some of you about that on coaching calls individually, that this is a habit that I built over time to be able to prep the things that I prep in the time that I prep it in now. And you can get there, but you got to start small. So I start small, focus on taking baby steps and really building the habit of doing it, setting aside the time and making sure that you're building the habit. You can always upscale your ingredient prep efforts later on once you have the habit solidified as part of your system within your plan. So choose one or two vegetables or one or two ingredients to prep. Doesn't have to be vegetables, it could be protein. I will have a cheat sheet for you in your Friday check-in email this week that you can download and you'll be able to use to go with and give you ideas of ingredients that you can choose to prep for next week and have them on hand. If you're not very confident in the kitchen yet, it's a good idea to decide how you're going to use them. So for instance, I'm going to make the crock pot shredded chicken. I'm going to use it in salads for lunch, and I'm going to make chicken bacon ranch wraps for dinner one night. That's a very easy way to use that shredded chicken. And now you have a plan for using it. You have an idea how much you need to prep as you do that. Make sure that you get any other ingredients that you might need. So it's not just the chicken. If you're making the crock pot shredded chicken, you're going to need to have the vinegar and the salt for that, but you're also going to need the ingredients for the actual meal that you're making as well. You need to have those ingredients on hand when you do your shopping. So then you're going to go buy your ingredients and you're going to prep them. And again, the cheat sheet's going to help you with this. We're going to go over some of it tonight when we move into the kitchen. So and then you're going to plan to use your ingredients at least one night this week or for lunches this week after you've had them all prepped up. And then you're going to congratulate yourself because this is a huge win. You have taken the first step to taking control over your meals and doing the things that you need to do. So what are the best foods to prep ahead of time? This is by no means an exhaustive list of the things that are good for prepping ahead of time, but and it's just a few of the things that I prep myself. And some extra ideas for you. So when it comes to vegetables, pretty much any vegetable that won't start browning a few minutes after you cut it. So if you're cutting white potatoes, unless you're planning on storing them in a big bowl of water, I wouldn't prep them ahead of time. If you are cutting apples, I have a great hack for cutting apples and a great hack for cutting avocados so that they don't turn brown on you. But those are fruits and vegetables that I typically don't prep ahead of time. Some of the ones that you can prep ahead of time, salad greens and other leafy greens, you certainly can wash and lay out to dry before storing them away. I'll show you my storage container that I use for my salad greens when we get over into the kitchen in a little while. Root vegetables like carrots and beets and sweet potatoes are great to do to be able to cut up and have ready to go for your meals. Cruciferous vegetables, those would be like your cauliflower, your broccoli, your Brussels sprouts, and your cabbage. Any squashes, zucchini squash, yellow squash, butternut squash, spaghetti squash, all of those. I have found that I love doing stuff with spaghetti squash. I will roast it up and put it into a container, and I'll be able to use that for meals throughout the week. I was actually going to roast one with you tonight, but I couldn't find them in any of the stores this week, so we're going to do something different instead. And then other things like mushrooms and onions and tomatoes and celery and asparagus and bell peppers, and that all depends on which vegetables you like, but all of them are great to be able to meal prep. Another, as far as berries, strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, we're going to do some raspberries tonight and get them ready for my week. I have some of those going this week for smoothies and stuff like that. So we're going to do some a vinegar rinse on those tonight so you guys can see that. Batch cooking proteins and having them prepped is a lifesaver. So bulk batches of either shredded or grilled chicken, beef, pork. We're actually going to do the crock pot shredded chicken tonight, and we're going to do a pork tenderloin tonight. I'm going to get that all together and into the oven for and so that can be cooked off. You can do ground beef. We're going to do a dish with ground beef in it tonight. I use a lean ground beef, and I usually store it in one of the glass containers. It's still in the pan because I actually just cooked it today so that I would have it for tonight. The one thing that I wouldn't cook ahead of time, except possibly shrimp, would be any fish. Any fish that's out there, I would cook when you're going to eat it. That would be something that I would plan to do. A camping hack that I can tell you, if you bulk purchase like chicken or you bulk purchase beef, one of the things that I do when we would camp is I would freeze the meat in a marinade so that it was all ready to go, but it was frozen so that I could have it for later. So that's something that you can do anytime in your kitchen, is put your meat into a marinade in a Ziploc bag, whether it's a reusable one or it's just a Ziploc or Glad bag or whatever, and then put it in the freezer so that you have it for later on. And your meat can marinate as it thaws then. Hard-boiled eggs is another great protein to have prepped and on hand, and bulk batches of beans and lentils, if you make your own from scratch, is another great one. And protein powder I always have on hand so that we are able to make protein shakes, and we do protein puddings and protein ice cream and stuff like that with that protein powder. So that's a great way to have a protein powder that's ready for you to be able to throw into things. Great protein to have on hand. Cooking up grains, having a batch of rice or some other grain helps you to be able to easily round out a meal. I usually do a jasmine rice, a brown rice, a wild rice. I really like quinoa, not that my family does, but I do. So you can easily batch cook those and have those on hand as well. And it gives you a carb that you have on hand to be able to use quickly. Sometimes I will also do a bag rice, and we're going to do that tonight with the chicken fried rice. When we make that, you'll see the bag rice that I make. Sorry, my dogs are trying to break into my cabinet. And your ingredient prep your ingredient prep cheat sheet, again, will be in your Friday email for you.